Hey, so I've been thinking a lot about this as of late. With the growing age of the internet, all of us have both a real life and also a digital identity that we develop after spending time on the internet. And as a person who spends a unhealthy amount of time on the internet, this is quite true, and a lot of you will be able to, sympathize with these words. And because we spend so much time on the internet, sometimes we're unable to process and trust information and even people from the real world, and have become overly reliant on the online world, perhaps because it's become a safe space for us. Have you ever thought about this? Being replaced by yourself, or more accurately, your digital persona? Have you ever thought about what if we're being replaced by someone who exists only in the virtual world? And spending so much time on the internet, this extreme obsession eventually transforms into delusion. The virtual reality is the one and only reality. What I'm talking about today is Denpa. Now, what is Denpa? Denpa is a Japanese term which literally translates into electromagnetic waves, which originally arose in 1990s to describe quirky individuals who often daydream and live in their personal fantasies, and was originally derived from the Fukugawa street murders. More on that later. Dempa, in today's day and age, is pretty much a internet aesthetic. For example, we have the liminal dreamcore aesthetic, or Frutiger aesthetic, or even vector heart, something like that. It is basically an aesthetic just like those. It is also seen as a subgenre of psychological horror primarily found in visual novels. It is characterized by recurring themes of delusion, social isolation, and disconnection from objective reality, often exploring the fragile nature of mental states and the impact of external or internal pressures. The main aesthetic of this subgenre is characterized by tangled telephone wires, dimly lit rooms, cluttered with technology and high contrast shadows, which draw heavy inspirations from shows like Serial Experiments Lane and Welcome to NHK. Now that we've talked about the aesthetic for Denpa, let's actually talk about the philosophy behind it. So, Denpa narratives often address the anxieties of modern life, such as impact of technology, the breakdown of social connections, and the blurring of reality and fantasy. The concept of moe shakai, or relationless society, is central to many Denpa works. This term describes a society where individuals feel increasingly isolated and disconnected from traditional social structures and support systems. As we talked about earlier, having distrust in the outside world and its people. Denpa also examines the appeal of escapism, digital escapism, and the boundaries between reality and fantasy. Characters often seek refuge in virtual worlds or fabricated realities as a means of coping with the challenges and anxieties of their lives. In everybody's most favorite anime ever, the protagonist becomes increasingly immersed in the wired, virtual reality world, blurring the lines between her online and offline identities. The Denpa genre also critiques consumerism and technological dependence, highlighting the potential for these forces to manipulate and control people, which is quite scary and, if you think about it, accurate to today's day and age, where everything is about consuming, and more people these days have become shut-ins and more socially anxious. Coming from a person like me who's experienced the same thing, I myself have spent a lot of time at home, and I don't like socializing with people at all. So now that we looked at the philosophy behind Denpa, it really is scary to think about how close to reality it is. These days, it's increasingly hard to, especially for people like me who spend most of their time on the internet, go outside and make friends, talk to people, because I'm speaking from personal experience. I'd much rather stay at home and play my video games or watch my TV shows, watch my animes and whatnot. It is a safe space, and I have difficulty leaving that safe space. And Sitting at home has connected me to the internet, which is basically another world inside of the world that we live in. So, in a way, it feels redundant to go outside when I have my world in the palm of my hands through my smartphone. So, earlier I said that we'll talk later about the origins of Denpa, which was the Fukugawa slasher case. Now, this is a extremely dark incident, so viewers' discretion is advised. So the incident revolves around a person called Kawamata Gunji, who was also using illicit substances when he slashed random bystanders in broad daylight, killing 2 housewives and even 2 toddlers, and injuring many others. When confronted at court, he explained that electromagnetic waves were telling him to kill people and pleaded insanity, and he's serving a life sentence even to this day. So, by the early 1990s, the term dempa began to appear throughout music and literature, and the phrase dempa ke was used to refer to delusional creepy people or crazed lunatics as a derogatory term. This was pretty much based on the idea that such people could hear voices, see things, and communicate through telepathy as a result of electromagnetic waves. Now, that is what the term originally meant in the 90s, but in today's day and age, it is mostly used to describe anyone associated with the otaku culture. Now, in order to move forward, let's look at what an otaku is. An otaku is a person with an intense enthusiasm for some subjects such as computers, video games, or anime and manga, especially one who finds social interaction difficult. Wait, am I an otaku? Learning about this definition is really important so we can learn and understand the concept of dempa even further. Because these people have difficulty in social interactions, they eventually turn to the virtual world where it's far easier to immerse yourself in because there's pretty much no one over there to judge you and your interests. So doesn't it seem far more convenient for anyone to go over there and live their lives without having to fear about being judged by other people? Especially with today's day and age where entertainment and media has grown so much. I mean, think about it for a second. Whenever you watch a anime, let's say it's a high school anime, they're pretty much an idealized version of high school life with several friends, even a romantic interest, which most people, well, I don't know about most people, but people like me, let's say, who are chronically online, they had difficulty getting through. We didn't really have a life like this, and seeing them take place in these animes or mangas or TV shows really is, it touches you, it speaks to you, because you lacked such an experience in your own life that watching such stuff really makes you want to disappear into that world and want to believe that it is real when it is actually not. The reason why I feel like that these sell so much, these idealized versions of reality sell so much, is because, of course, everybody wants an ideal life. So why wouldn't it sell? It is kind of sad to think about that, as a person who spends a lot of time on the internet, I did not choose to, be antisocial. It is kind of how I am. Everybody has their own nature, everybody has their own worlds that they live in, their own perceptions, their understandings. People like me, or some of us, have difficulty just in general socializing. So, because of this, and because of the digital age that we exist in these days, it was far easier for me to take refuge in the internet and the world that exists in it. I remember specifically back in 2019 when I was still a teenager, I ended up joining the platform Discord. Before joining Discord, I was on Reddit, so it's basically from one terrible thing to another, but we don't talk about that. That's not the topic of this video. But when I joined Discord, my life, I kid you not, changed. I did not think that such a thing that I experienced on that platform was even possible. I didn't have a lot of friends, and the friends that I did have, I didn't really meet them all that often or talk to them all that often. So joining Discord and the communities on it really provided me an output to, be social and talk to people, and it was so fun. I'd say that pretty much was the thing that changed my life. Well, it is a social platform. With social platforms, a lot of positives and a lot of negatives can come to you if you're able to control yourself. And thankfully, I was able to control myself. I was a pretty stupid teenager back in the day, but now when I look back, I realized that the experiences that I went through on that platform, talking to people and interacting with them and talking about mental health and their problems, it really allowed me to grow and develop as a person, which made me more mature. And I'm grateful for that experience in a way. And now that the world that we exist in today, things have gotten really, really negative. Everything feels like it's just falling apart. So, of course, now more than ever, people want to escape from this reality to another reality. So, in a way, you can't really even blame those people for wanting to choose a life such as disappearing into a virtual world. But the problem mainly arises when those people think that that is the only world that exists and completely disconnect from the real world. Breaking your routine is really important to stay healthy, and I also do that by taking breaks and playing video games or watching a show. And it really helps me, escape from my problems. So when I come back with a fresh mind, I'm good and I'm able to handle myself far better. It is just that some people fall so weak to their own selves that they want to exist in only the digital reality and don't want to come back in the real world. And that is basically where the problem arises. Being so dependent on the virtual world really, really screws with you. Earlier, we talked about relationless society. All of this leads eventually to a relationless society, a society in which you completely dissolve all of your bonds with your family, your friends, your workplace, and choose to live alone, choose to be an individual. It's quite much easier to live in your own fantasies and avoid confronting the dark reality that we live in. But that is what the true meaning of life is, confronting your issues and growing from them. I know I sound like I'm preaching a lot right now, but that is the truth. That is the meaning of life, to find something that you care for and moving forward and growing from your experiences. None of us chose to be born, but since we're here, hey, at least we can do our best and live our lives as best as we can. The world may be a harsh place, but you truly matter. I want to take this moment to talk about another experience that I personally had when I fired up the old VR chat a little while ago with my friends because we were really bored and we wanted to do something crazy. And VR chat is that kind of place where you can go and have a lot of fun talking to random people from around the world. So we went there and we explored a lot of worlds because we don't play this game quite often. We don't really have a world that we can always go back to and, chill in and something that is familiar. And because of world hopping, we joined several instances in which I noticed that there were people talking about their life with other people, how they're living, their life experiences, their routines, and all that stuff. And for a moment, it really hit me. From an outside perspective, you look at all of these things like people choosing to live in the virtual world, they're kind of weird and this is not how the world works, this is not how society operates. But when you actually start noticing the little details, you start realizing that these virtual worlds are genuinely a safe space for people like these. They can connect anytime they want and they can talk to strangers anytime they want, because it's comforting knowing that nobody will be able to judge you. To these people, this game genuinely was a way to live life, and I saw that, I noticed that, and that completely shifted my way of thinking about this matter. Before, I also thought that these people were weird because while I am antisocial, I thankfully am a person who's more involved in the real world as well, which I'm grateful for. But after looking at that, it really made me realize that, man, this really is everything to these people, and every one of them have their own reasons. So this was the topic of dempa. It is something that really resonated with me, so I wanted to make a video on this. And by the way, I didn't even introduce myself. You can call me Mez. I've been on this platform for a little more than a decade now. I recently stopped making videos a few years ago and I'm now back. I've had a lot of time these vacations, so I wanted to use that time and put it into doing something productive. So yeah, that was about all. Thank you so much to everyone watching up to this point, if you even reached it. And feel free to leave your own opinions on this matter, or even suggestions if you feel like, to improving this kind of content. I will extremely appreciate it. If you enjoy this video, please let me know by leaving a like. And if you're new around here, well, of course you're new around here because this is my first video in I don't know even how many years. Please do subscribe. It really will help me. For the end of this video, I wanted to leave all of you with a question. Not exactly a question that I want you to answer, but if you do want to answer it, you're always free to do so. But I wanted to ask you, who are you? And who is it that you want to become in your life? And yeah, that's about it. Thank you for watching.